I believe that this lesson is important for you, as it will show you, all the, not all, of course not. It will show you some of the examples of the chemical reactions that you may see in your daily life, in your everyday life, around you, in your houses, and even in your bodies. Okay? It is a very interesting lesson with a lot of examples and pictures. I hope you will like it. If you're ready, let's get started. Bismillah. The lesson is about chemistry in everyday life. I have to admit your classmates. Actually, it's my fault. It's my fault. I have to invite everyone at the same time in order to avoid doing this. No problem. If you're ready, Bismillah, let's get started. Chemistry happens in the world around you, not just in a laboratory. Matter interacts to form new products through a process called a chemical reaction. Let me repeat. Chemistry happens in the world around you, not just in a laboratory. Matter interacts to form new products through a process called a chemical reaction. Is a verb that means something that is going on, quelque chose qui se produit, c'est quelque chose qui se passe. For example, you hear a noise, vous entendez un bruit, especially when you have kids at home, surtout quand vous avez des enfants, par exemple à la maison, for example, you have kids at home, and you hear a noise, and you run, vous courez, you run and you ask the kids, what's going on? What's happening? Or what happened if you see that there is a problem, for example, one of the kids is crying, for example, and you ask, what happened? Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? What happened? What's happening? What's going on? Okay? To happen, c'est se passer, se produire. It happens, ça arrive, ça se produit. Okay? This is chemistry happens means that chemistry happens. You can see chemistry in the world around you. We say world or word without L for le monde et le mot. And in both cases, you have to say not word or word. It's a word or word. Okay? Chemistry happens in the world around you. Okay, excuse me. Okay, excuse me. Give me a minute, please. Excuse me. I told you, chemistry happens in the world around you. La chimie se produit, elle se passe. Vous la voyez dans le monde autour de vous. Excuse me, give me a minute. I'm really sorry. I've been called here. Sorry, I told you, chemistry happens in the world around you, not just in a laboratory. La chimie se produit dans le monde autour de vous, around you, inside you, outside, the world around you. Don't forget we say word or world. It depends if you mean le mot ou le monde. It is always a world, not just in a laboratory, pas seulement dans un laboratoire. As future chemists, as future scientists, inshallah, I expect you to know what's going on, what's happening around you. I mean, if you're cleaning, for example, en tant que futur chimiste, en tant que futur scientifique, I expect you to know the reactions that you're using. Je m'attends à ce que vous connaissiez les réactions que vous êtes en train d'utiliser. Vous n'êtes pas comme ceux qui n'ont jamais fait d'études. Vous mélangez les produits chimiques. I'm expecting you to know the reactions, not like people who have no education. For example, you mix the chemical products in your houses, because I heard that from my students, sometimes even from my master students. They mix the cleaning, for example, detergents. Elles mélangent, par exemple, les détergents, and after that they have reactions. They have how can I describe that? They have problems. Because they breathe sometimes toxic gas. It shouldn't happen to chemistry students. I expect you to know what reactions you're using when you cook, what reactions you're using when you clean, what reactions happen in your bodies. Okay? Okay?
Yes.
Matter. Matter interacts, la matière interagit to form, pour former de nouveaux produits. Matter interacts to form new products through, à travers, through a process called a chemical reaction. Did you all understand this first paragraph? I could hear a voice. Do you have a
Yes,
question, guys?
madam.
You have a question? Please tell me.
No, no.
You don't? Who wants to read this first slide? Don't worry, I'm gonna help. Yes, Hamza, please. Hamza and Yasmin after. Okay, after Hamza, Yasmin, please. Hamza, go ahead. We're listening. Please listen.
Chemistry happens in the world around you, not just in the laboratory. Matter
Hamza?
interacts to form new products through.
Hamza?
Yes,
Is there a problem?
I am here. I forgot to activate the.
The microphone. Oh, okay, no problem. Please go ahead.
Chemistry happens in the world around you, not just in the laboratory. Matter interacts to form new products through a process called a chemical reaction.
Yes, thank you very much, Yasmin.
Chemistry happens in the world around you, not just in a laboratory. Matter interacts to form new products through a process called a chemical reaction.
Thank you. Yes, chemistry happens everywhere. It is a very important tool. La chimie se passe partout. C'est un outil très important. It is a tool to study what happens inside us, in our bodies. We call that biochemistry. It is a tool to understand even the weather, for example, la météo. It is important for to make medicines, pour faire des médicaments. It is important, for example, to study even the space, the composition of the stars. Chemistry is an important and beautiful science. Who could think about the definition of chemistry? Who could think about a definition for chemistry? I told you last time, to give a definition, you have to write a definition to say first what the thing you want to define is. Is it a person? Is it a scientist? Is it a science? Is it an object? Is it an animal? Is it a feeling? Is it a color? Is it okay? Start by saying what the thing is and think about chemistry.
Chemistry is science that study.
It's a science.
It's a science, yes, good
It's a
start.
science.
It's a science, okay. Yes, it's a science.
which
It's a
study
science that,
the products and
yes, it is a science that studies, the science that studies the
Reaction
compounds, you
and
said?
reaction
Reactions,
and
compound, reactions,
Substances.
and substances, yes.
compounds of products and matter.
Yes, substances, elements.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, another definition maybe. What about the others? I have two voices. You have to share, you have to try. I am here to help you. How can you, how could you learn English if you don't share, if you don't speak, if you don't read? There are some voices I never hear. Never.
Never.
I wish I could hear your voices and hear your suggestions. You can suggest. Even if you make mistakes, I'm here to help you. Okay, I have thought about a definition. Chemistry is the science that deals with the composition. C'est la science qui traite. To deal with, c'est traiter de. We can say the science that deals with. This discipline deals with. I can deal with him, je peux le gérer, je peux traiter avec lui. I can deal, let me deal with him. Je vais m'entendre avec lui, je vais régler le problème. I'm gonna deal with him. The science that deals with, c'est la science qui traite de. Please write it on your copybooks to deal with. C'est traité de. Okay? I expect you to use this verb as future chemists to deal with. Okay? Traiter de. The science, la science qui traite de, the science that deals with the composition. La composition, the composition, the structure, and the properties of substances. I can hear that I have a message, maybe. Chemistry explained what happened. Chemistry explained what happened in our daily life. In our daily life. Okay? The science that deals with the composition, the structure, and properties of substances. The chemistry is the science that deals with the composition, the structure, and the properties of substances, and with the transformations that they undergo, usually through what is called a chemical reaction. Guys, do you know the meaning of the composition? If you want to know the composition of a substance, what would you look for? Si vous voulez connaître la composition, qu'est-ce que vous cherchez? What is the meaning of the composition of a substance? La composition d'une substance. Here it's chemistry. I'm talking to chemistry students. What does it mean?
Composition de telle matière.
Yes, the composition of a substance, la composition d'une substance. What does it mean? It means that you're looking for the elements, for example.
La
You
structure.
are looking for the element.
Propriété physique, propriété chimique.
Before avant la structure, before the, no, before structure and properties. No, before the structure and the properties. I'm talking about the composition. The composition means that you're looking for the chemical elements or the chemical compounds that compose a substance. Les éléments chimiques ou les composés chimiques qui composent ou qui forment une substance, qui forment un corps. Okay?
It
For
refers
example,
to what something is
Yeah.
made of.
Exactly, it refers to what something is made of. Thank you very much. That's a good explanation. Exactly. The composition, looking for the composition, chercher la composition, looking for the composition means that you're looking for the chemical elements, for example, that make that compound. For example, you are a chemist in a laboratory, you have to check whether the composition is correct, whether the concentration that they said is correct. And to look for the composition means that you will see whether, for example, it contains carbon, whether it contains metals, whether it contains, for example, I don't know, magnesium, aluminium, I don't know, some halogens, for example. Okay, this is the composition. What is it made of? Is it made of aluminium, a metal, for example, or maybe a transition metal? Maybe it is iron. It's iron. Maybe it's lead. Peut-être que c'est du fer. Peut-être que c'est du plomb. Maybe no. Maybe it's made of another chemical compound. And I can say, oh no, this is mainly. It contains mainly organic compounds. Okay, this is the composition. Sorry, you have to tell to check whether it contains metals or any other element. Okay, chemical element. What about the structure? What about the structure? La structure. The structure is something different. This is something different. The example that I give usually is an example from my own experience. I told you that I was a coordination chemist. It means that I'm studying my discipline. Of course, it's my science is chemistry, but my discipline is coordination chemistry. I am from a coordination chemistry group. It means that I study coordination compounds, complexes. And you know the features, les caractéristiques, the features of the complexes? They have a lot of geometries, different structures, and different colors. They have different structures, geometries, and different colors. The coordination chemistry is called sometimes the chemistry of colors, because we have plenty of beautiful colors. When I make some complexes, I can have red, black, green, orange, or yellow complexes. And my colleagues may have blue, I don't know, plenty of colors. And these colors are depend on the properties. And these properties are they depend on the structure. This is an important information I'm giving you today as an inorganic chemist, as a chemist. The properties depend a lot on the structure. The structure will give some properties. If the structure changes, the properties of the compound, the chemical compound will change. Les propriétés dépendent de la structure. Vous changez de structure, les propriétés se modifient. Change. Okay? You make some changes on the structure, you're making changes on the properties. Vous changez la structure, vous changez les propriétés. Là, les propriétés dépendent de la structure. The properties depend on the structure. For example, sometimes I have square planar, not plane. They are, for example, I have octahedral complexes. Do you think you remember the meaning of ligands? Are you studying the complexes?
Yes, les ligands.
We have studied in the first.
That one,
yes.
but and ligands that are very similar. You can have different structures. Maybe they are not that different, but they are different. The properties may be similar, but they are different. The properties depend on the structure. If you have a square planar complex or an octahedral complex, you won't have the same properties. OK? Vous n'allez pas avoir les mêmes propriétés si vous avez un complexe carré plan ou un complexe octaédrique. Okay? The structure and the properties of substances. And those properties, we have several properties. We can study several properties. Sometimes they are electronic, sometimes they are different. The properties, we have plenty of properties that we can study. With the transformations that they undergo. The science that deals with the composition, structure and properties. La science qui traite de la composition, de la structure et des propriétés des substances. As we can say substances or compounds. Des composés ou des substances, and with the transformations that they undergo. Et avec les transformations qu'elles subissent, that they undergo. They here refers to what? They undergo. This word refers to?
Substances.
Substances, yes. The substances undergo. What is the meaning of to undergo? I told you, c'est subir. Les transformations qu'elles subissent. But in general, when it's not about chemical compounds or substances, what is the meaning of to undergo? Give me a minute, please. Could you give me a minute?
Yes, of course.